Marcus Rashford arrived at Barcelona with more doubts than expectations.
He finds himself in a situation in which this is his last chance at the big time at Barcelona.
Some people called it a panic move. Others said he was finished at the top level. But halfway through the season, one thing is clear. Rashford finally makes sense. And
Rashford's going to shoot! Oh, what a goal that is! What a goal! That went in like an absolute Rashford rocket!
In the next few minutes, I'll show you why Rashford looks like a different player in Spain, what Barcelona are doing that Manchester United never did, and why this transfer is quietly one of the smartest moves Barca have made in years. Let's break it down. Rashford didn't leave United because of talent. He left because the situation became impossible. At United, he was the main goal threat, the emotional leader, the transition outlet, and the player blamed when things failed. No structure, no consistency, no protection. He was being asked to do everything. And when you ask one player to do everything, eventually they do nothing well. Not physically, mentally. The pressure at Old Trafford had become unbearable. Every match felt like a referendum on his entire career. Every missed chance was dissected on social media for days. Every loss became his responsibility, whether he played well or not. And here's the thing, United's system didn't help it. There was no clear tactical identity. Managers changed, systems changed, teammates changed. But Rashford was always expected to be the constant, the one player who could drag the team through matches with individual brilliance. That's an impossible burden for any player, no matter how talented. And over time, it wore him down. You could see it in his body language, in the way he stopped making those aggressive runs, in how he'd hesitate on the ball when he used to be so decisive. But here's what most people don't realize. The player wasn't broken, the system was. At Barcelona, Rashford isn't asked to save his team. He's asked to execute a role. Barcelona play positional football. That sounds obvious, but here's the difference. Predictable passing lanes mean Rashford knows where his teammates will be. Closer spacing means support is always within 10 yards. Defined zones means he doesn't have to cover the entire left flank alone. He receives the ball earlier, with options, with support. And suddenly, his strengths matter again. He doesn't need to drop deep to collect the ball from centre-backs. He doesn't need to dribble past 4 players to create something from nothing. He doesn't need to be a superhero every single week. He just needs to be Marcus Rashford. Fast, direct, and clinical in the final third. That's the power of a system that actually fits the player. It's not just about tactics on a board. It's about understanding what a player needs psychologically to perform at their best. At United, Rashford was isolated. At Barcelona, he's integrated. At United, he was the plan. At Barcelona, he's part of the plan. And that distinction makes all the difference. Now, this is the part, it's why it works for Rashford specifically. And when you understand these tactical patterns, everything clicks into place. First, left-sided interior runs. Barcelona constantly create the inside left channel, that pocket between the centre-back and full-back. Rashford lives there. At United, he had to create that space himself, often dropping deep or drifting wide to find the ball. At Barcelona, it's created for him by Pedri's movement, by Gundogan's positioning, by the fullback pushing high and dragging defenders with him. The result? Rashford receives the ball in dangerous positions, already facing goal, with defenders on their heels. He doesn't beat defenders with skill anymore. He beats their positioning, and that's far more efficient. Second, timing over dribbling. At United, Rashford was expected to take players on 1v1 constantly, to use his pace and power to beat fullbacks, to create chances through individual brilliance. And sometimes it worked, but most of the time, it meant running into congested areas, losing possession, and the entire attack breaking down. At Barcelona, he doesn't need to do that. He attacks space, not players. The ball does the work. He just has to time the run perfectly, and his teammates have the technical ability to find him. His pace becomes a weapon again, but it's being used intelligently now, not desperately. And third man combinations. This one's crucial. Barcelona use third man runs constantly. where Rashford isn't the first receiver, but the final one. The ball goes from the centre-back to the midfielder, then immediately into Rashford's path as he sprints forward. One-touch football reduces decision pressure, and for confidence players like Rashford, that's massive. He's not standing on the ball trying to decide what to do while 3 defenders close him down. He's not overthinking. He's reacting. And when Rashford is reacting on instinct, he's at his most dangerous. This is not coincidence. It's design. Barcelona identified what Rashford does best, then built situations where those strengths would be maximized. That's elite recruitment and coaching. Watch his body language now compared to his final season at United. The runs, the aggression, the way he celebrates goals. He looks lighter. He looks free. And here's the truth about confidence in football. It's not about motivation speeches or sports psychologists, though those can help. Confidence is clarity. When you know your role, when you know your teammates will be in position, when you know the ball will come to you in dangerous areas, you play without hesitation. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop playing scared. Barcelona gave Rashford something he hadn't had in years: certainty. Certainty about where to be, what to do, and what's expected of him. And certainty breeds performance. At United, every decision felt weighted with consequence. Miss this chance and the headlines will destroy you. Lose this match and your commitment will be questioned. That mental burden is exhausting. At Barcelona, Rashford can just play football. And when talented players are allowed to just play football without carrying the emotional weight of an entire club, they usually perform. If you made it this far and enjoyed the video, we would really appreciate if you would subscribe to our channel, as we're still a small channel looking to grow and it goes a long way for us. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. He's still inconsistent, right? Yes. Let's be completely honest here. Rashford still has quiet games. He still misses chances he should score. He's not suddenly reached Ballon d'Or level. There are matches where he's anonymous for long stretches. But here's what's different. Barcelona understand what kind of player Rashford is. He's not a volume player. He's a momentum player. He doesn't need to play 90 minutes every single game, accumulating touches and maintaining constant involvement. He needs key moments in the right games. A crucial goal in a tight match. A devastating run that changes momentum. An assist that unlocks a stubborn defense. Barcelona rotate him intelligently. They protect him from burnout. They don't force him to play hero every single week, which means he's actually available and effective when they need him most. And because of that approach, his impact per touch is significantly higher than it was at United. He's not exhausted by December. He's not playing through injuries because the team has no alternatives. He's not carrying resentment from being overused. He's just a weapon in Barcelona's arsenal, used when and where it matters most. And for a player like Rashford, that's a perfect situation. Now let's flip this perspective. Why does Rashford work for Barcelona? Because they didn't need another playmaker. They already have Pedri orchestrating attacks with his vision. They have Xavi bringing energy and pressing intensity. They have Gundogan providing experience and composure. What they needed was something different. They needed athleticism to stretch defenses vertically. They needed depth to rotate the front three without dropping quality. They needed a vertical threat to punish teams that play highlines. And they needed Champions League experience for those big European nights where composure matters. Rashford provides all of that without breaking the system. He doesn't demand the ball at his feet constantly. He doesn't slow down play with excessive dribbling. He doesn't need 10 touches to be effective. In fact, he stretches defenses even when he doesn't touch the ball. His runs drag centre-backs out of position, creating space for Lewandowski. His pace forces fullbacks to sit deeper, giving Barcelona's midfielders more room to operate. His presence changes how opponents defend, even in moments where he's not directly involved. That's incredibly valuable for a team like Barcelona. They don't need him to be the star. They need him to make everyone else's job easier. And that's exactly what he's doing. Some people called this move a step down, a retreat from the Premier League, an admission that he couldn't handle the pressure. But they're completely wrong. This move wasn't about escaping pressure. It was about resetting his football identity. It was about remembering who he is as a player. stripped away from all the noise and expectations that had built up at United. At United, Rashford became a symbol of unfulfilled potential, of tactical confusion, of a club that couldn't get its act together. Every bad result was somehow tied to him. Every systemic failure of the club became personalized in his performances. That's not fair, but that's what happens when you're the local lad, the academy graduate, the player fans invested their hopes in. At Barcelona, Rashford stopped being a symbol and started being a footballer again. Just a player doing his job within a team, judged on his actual performances rather than what he represents. And you can see the difference. He's playing with joy again. He's smiling. He's taking risks. He's not afraid to fail because failure here doesn't define him the way it did at United. This isn't the end of Rashford's career. It's the beginning of Act 2. And sometimes, the second act is even better than the first. Here's the real lesson from this transfer, and it's one that every club should be paying attention to. The best transfers today aren't about talent. They're about fit. Rashford didn't suddenly improve dramatically. His technical ability is essentially the same as it was at United. His physical attributes haven't changed. He's the same player he was 6 months ago. But his environment did change. And that's why this works. We've seen this pattern before in football. Mohamed Salah struggled at Chelsea, looking average at best, then moved to Liverpool and became one of the world's best players. Kevin De Bruyne couldn't get games at Chelsea, then joined Manchester City and transformed into a generational midfielder. Alexis Sanchez was brilliant at Arsenal, then moved to United and looked completely lost. Same players, different contexts. Completely different results. The player is fundamentally the same person, but the context changes everything. And modern football is finally starting to understand this. It's not about collecting the best individuals and hoping they mesh. It's about building the best system first, then finding players who fit that system perfectly. It's about understanding that talent needs the right environment to flourish. Barcelona understood that with Rashford. They didn't sign him thinking he'd become a superstar. They signed him knowing he'd be the perfect complementary piece. And that's why it's working. So was Marcus Rashford a risk for Barcelona? Absolutely. He came from a difficult season. His confidence was shot. He was being written off by large sections of the media. The fee wasn't huge, but the reputational risk was significant. But was he the perfect risk? Yes, because Barcelona didn't need him to be Lionel Messi. They didn't need him to single-handedly carry them to titles. They needed him to be Marcus Rashford, a fast, direct, dangerous forward who could execute a specific role within their system. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's proving that talent doesn't disappear. It just needs the right environment to flourish. He's showing that sometimes a change of scenery isn't an escape, it's a solution. For Rashford personally, this might be the most important season of his career, because if this works long term, and all signs suggest it will, he doesn't just save his reputation, he reinvents it. He goes from being a cautionary tale about wasted potential to being a case study in smart career management. From a player who couldn't handle the pressure to a player who was brave enough to seek a better situation. That's a powerful narrative, and it's one that's still being written. So let me ask you this, and I want you to really think about it. Did Barcelona save Marcus Rashford's career? Or did Manchester United waste it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I know this one will divide opinions. I know United fans have strong feelings. I know people will debate whether this one proves anything about either club. And that's exactly what I want to hear. Let's have that conversation.